I have tried so many new products this year that I could not choose my top #1 favorite in every category. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of frantic trying to choose one of every category. So for this year's True Choice Awards, we're choosing multiple in each category because this was my year of experimentation and we're just going to embrace that. Hopefully by next year I have it a little bit more toned down, but we're gonna make do with where we're at in this phase of life. Keep in mind, these are going to be my personal favorites, meaning I'm choosing what I found to be the most reliable in my makeup routine in 2025. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be what's best for you. These are products that I recommend, but always keep in mind your budget, your preferences, and what you already have at home. But with all that being said, because there are so many good products I tried this year, I do want to give it its moment and its spotlight this month. So I will be doing a roundup for each category and diving into who I would recommend each product for and when. So for example, I'm going to be doing a best of primer video, comparing each primer I liked this year and what I would recommend for your specific scenarios. I'll also do a best of foundation series, recommending according to your budget and your preferences. Those videos I feel like are more helpful for you to find out what's going to work, rather than this type of video is more about what works best for me. And if you just so happen to be new to the channel, True Choice Awards is just my version of the Allure Best of Beauty Awards. And unfortunately, I made a silly decision not to post one of these last year, but we're not going to focus on the past, we're going to focus on the present and move forward. While you watch this video, please let me know your nominated favorites of 2025 because I want to hear your recommendations and maybe I'll try them next year. So when I start my makeup, I always do my eyebrows first because I like to get it out of the way since it's the most boring step in the entire routine. If my eyebrows look bad, my entire face will look bad. My routine has not changed since last year. I think it has remained the same. The Benefit brow gel is by far my favorite. I've tried other brow gels that I still think is good, like the Maybelline and the Rare Beauty. I might make a separate brow gel video, depending. As I said earlier, there are so many new products that I've tried that I like and would recommend, but just for different scenarios. This is my personal favorite that I always go back to just because it's super strong and it literally glues down your eyebrows and I don't have any issues with flaking. Then I usually fill in the tail and any spots with the NYX Lift and Snatch. In the shade Ash Brown, I kind of prefer a lighter shade, but this is the one that I've been using right now. And this just kind of fills up the brow. And I do find that this pen does last all day on my eyebrows, so that's really important because I hate when it like fades. And then on the inner parts of my eyebrows, to make it a little more natural and not too blocky, I use the Maybelline Express Brow, and this is in the shade Ash Brown as well. I'm literally out of this. I just finished it today, so that tells you how much I like it. I've repurchased brow gel multiple times, probably 10 bottles at this point, and then NYX Lift and Snatch, maybe I'm on my 5th bottle. These are all go-to brow products. At some point, I don't really want to laminate my brows like I usually do, but I'm having like a hard time letting go of the way that I'm doing my brows. And if it works, I don't need to fix it. But those are my favorite brow products. Moving on to primer. Now, for some people, I don't really think you need primer if you have really good skin prep. It depends on your skin type. For me, I have oily, textured skin, and primers do help transform my makeup and make the foundation apply better. It was really difficult to choose between like the 5 that I tried this year that I love and recommend, but we're using the benchmark of the most reliable products that I can always go to, no matter if it's a good skin day or a bad skin day. So I settled on the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer. This has been a holy grail since last year. I finished an entire bottle last year, repurchased it, and I'm halfway through this bottle. The reason why I love it is because it's like a typical silicone primer, so it has those blurring properties, but it's also slightly mattifying without being drying and without pilling. Now, if for some odd reason you get pilling with this, you're probably pairing it with the wrong moisturizer, but most moisturizers I've paired this with and sunscreens, it does not pill. Not only that, I do think it creates a really smooth base for your foundation. So I notice that my foundation does apply on more even when I have this underneath my makeup. She's expensive, but again, I've finished a whole bottle before. I plan to finish this one if I continue to keep using it. I don't really have buyer's remorse if makeup is expensive because I know that it is reliable. For those of you who want a little bit more of a glowier primer, I think your moisturizer will do the trick. For me, I wasn't going to include a glowy primer in this video until I tried this. It is the VDL Lumi Layer Primer. I got this gifted in the Yes Style Advent calendar and I am blown away. This was probably the best product I got in that calendar because I wouldn't have bought this with my own money. I wouldn't have even thought about buying it, but it is totally worth the hype. It reminds me a lot of the Say like dewy glow drops. I'm not sure what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. It is a luminous primer and highlight. It has a transparent pearlescent purple reflect to it, but what makes this so special is that it brightens up your face. So I like to apply this on the tops of my cheekbones, even where the hollows of my under eyes are, to make me look less tired. You can wear this on no makeup days, or you can wear this on top of your makeup as a highlight or under your makeup as just a glowy base. It will give you that Korean glass skin vibe. It's not heavy on the skin, it's very lightweight. The only downside is that it smells like perfume, baby powder. It's kind of floralish, but I can look past that because it's not super strong and I do think the scent fades as the days go on. I hope and wish they had more colors of this because this is an impeccable formula. I love that it gives you that kind of wet glass shine without being sticky. 10 out of 10. Love this. Recommend it. Really surprised by it. Okay, so foundation was really difficult for me to choose because for me, I choose a foundation depending on the day, but again, we are going to choose the one that is most reliable. It has to look good on bad skin days, good skin days, all types of weather. So we're going with the Chanel Ultra Wear All Day Comfort Flawless Foundation. I have been using this for a few years now. Honestly, this is probably expired, but that's $60, so I'm gonna get my money's worth. It has lasted me so long, and it's a foundation I always go back to, so I'm surprised I haven't used it up. It comes with a fluid out, so that's kind of surprising, but it is medium to full coverage, so I don't usually need to wear a lot on my skin to get the coverage that I want. Are there other foundations that can give the same finish, do the same thing for the most part? Yes, without the price tag. Again, we're going to that benchmark of most reliable, and when I compare this to other foundations I've tried, it's the least finicky. No matter the occasion, no matter the event, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter my skin, this always looks really good, so that's why I'm choosing it as number one. As you can see, it has a very natural finish on the skin. I have no complaints and I love the way that this looks on me. This is a foundation I do not talk too much about because I feel guilty about how expensive it is and recommending an expensive product to you. On a personal level, this is what I'm using mostly on camera for special events when I want medium to full coverage because it just looks good. And the winner for cream bronzer is the Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Light. If you've been watching my videos for a while, this has also been an ongoing holy grail. Let me just show you. This is all I have left, which is 0. I had to scrape the last drops to put the rest on my face and demonstrate this for you. It is the last time you'll be seeing this on my channel, which is so freaking sad. I did try to repurchase this and buy a backup during her cyber craze, but they only had one shade available and it wasn't the shade Light because that was sold out. So I don't know. I'm really mad at Huda Beauty. If you are watching this, please re-release and relaunch this because first of all, I don't even think she has a bronzer in her line of makeup anymore that is being sold at Sephora. I think it's only time. This summer, bring it back, please, if anything, maybe adjust the formulas, like the colors a little bit to be slightly more neutral for selfish reasons. But this is still the ultimate formula for me because it's cream to powder, it's blurring, it's just the right amount of pigment, and I have bought quite a few cream bronzers and they don't compare. They just simply don't. Now for powder bronzer, I have 5 that I do like. I can't really choose a favorite necessarily because I rotate through them. I don't have ones that I feel extremely passionate about because I'm still on the hunt for like the right tone for my skin. However, I did end up hitting pan on one powder bronzer, and that is the Haus Labs Powder Sculpt Velvet bronzer. This is actually an impeccable formula. It's called a velvet bronzer because it has this silky, soft, like almost literally velvet that has a slight sheen, but it's not glittery at all on the skin. It doesn't enhance texture or anything like that. It just gives your skin some dimension without that sparkly kind of highlight glow. I also love the shade of this because although it has warmth to it, it does lean a little bit more neutral so that it doesn't appear super orange on my skin tone, which I really love. I've never hit pan on a bronzer, so this says a lot. Great formula, good color. They did, from what I know, either reformulated this or just updated the shade range of this, so this isn't the exact one that's available at Sephora, but if you are looking for that silky but luminous bronzer, I do think this is a great contender. But I'm not gonna lie, I also like all the other bronzers I have in my collection. I just kind of pick which one I'm feeling that day based on my skin tone because I do consistently fluctuate skin tones depending on if it's a summer or the winter. But the Haus Labs one is overall my most reliable. That's all to say I have like 3 blush favorites, so you're gonna have to cut me some slack because I really narrowed this down and there will be a whole video comparing all of the blushes I tried this year. The first is going to be the tfit pudding pots. I usually like to layer a liquid or cream blush underneath, and my choice this year has been from tfit. Now I have been sponsored by tfit in the past, but they are not sponsoring this video. These were gifted to me. They are truly products I love using. I really love the shade range options that they have on this. On top of that, the formula is fairly sheer to buildable, so even if it's a saturated color, you have more control over the product. It has a moussey cream to powder texture, which I really love because it gives you that blurred out cheek, and I have a lot of texture around my cheeks, so that's really important to me. If you want a blush that has kind of that silicone filter like effect, this blush is going to give you that. As for the most blurring powder blush effect, I'm gonna have to go with the Tower 28 Get Set in the shade Long Beach Iced Tea. I mean, you can get any shade, but every time I apply this on my skin, in comparison to other blurring blushes I've tried, this is by far the most blurring. When I put this on my cheeks, it's as if I'm applying setting powder. So I really love that, but I also like this color. It has like that toasty pinkish brown blush effect. Don't apply too much because you might look like you have a bruise, but if you apply a light layer, it gives you that really nice toasty sculpted look, which I really love. And the third blush that I had to include in my favorite, mainly honestly for both the formula and the shade actually, is the Fenty Beauty Suede Powder Cheek Blush in the shade Bacon Cakes. I like this because the formula is very similar to, honestly it's smoother and creamier than the Haus Labs Velvet Bronzer, but it kind of has the same silky, soft, smooth vibe, but it feels more wet to the touch almost. And by wet, I don't mean it's actually like a cream. It just feels more emollient. And on top of that, I absolutely adore this color because it is a soft rosy pink, which is perfect for every day. Also, just as an honorable mention, I have been loving the BK Beauty 110 blush brush. This applies on blush like a freaking dream. There's something about this shape that really packs on the blush, but packs it on evenly, which a lot of my other blush brushes don't do. So I have been loving this. They gifted this to me in PR, but all of the brushes that I think I have used in this video have been gifted to me in PR, by the way, just to disclose that. I'm pretty sure last year my favorite blush was the House Labs Pomelo Peach. I still like this one paired with Peach Bop by Charlotte Tilbury, but again, in a new phase of life, and we have been moving forward from this. Now, I'm not very particular with concealers. Yes, they are all different, but I kind of rotate through them as well, and I find that they work the way that they should, and if they don't, I usually try to play around it with brushes and technique. That's all to say, my favorite under eye concealer this year has been the Sephora Best Skin Ever Full Coverage. This has been reformulated. I don't know if the new one is the same, which is so unfortunate because I had just bought this year, I think. But it really impressed me because it gives you full coverage under the eyes without being shocking, if you get what I'm saying. You can sheer it out if you wanted to. The best application method is just to apply this under the eyes and let it sit while you're doing the rest of your makeup. Once you blend it out and it sets, it stays pretty well under the eyes. There is very minimal creasing, but that's all dependent on you and your application. I usually try to avoid the crease as much as possible to prevent from product buildup. And as for spot concealing, I usually would go for the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. This is in the shade Praline, but that has since been replaced with this concealer from the brand tfit, which is a K-beauty brand. This is their Cover Up Pro Concealer. I have the shade Dark. It comes with a yellow beige shade, a brown beige, and a tan beige. The way that I describe it is a lighter concealer, a peachy concealer, and a darker concealer, or like a skin tone concealer. These are not the same formulas. The NARS Soft Matte is a little bit more of a moussey cream to powder texture, while this one is more of a creamy, like emollient cream to powder formula. It doesn't have that mousse-like texture, but what makes this stand out is that what's happening? Once it sets on the skin, it is not budging, it is not moving, it's extremely long lasting, which in comparison to the NARS Soft Matte, it is better because as much as I love the finish of the NARS Soft Matte, I do find it has issues with setting on the skin. If you blend too much, it kind of like blends away, but this, I don't have that issue. On top of that, I love that it has 3 different shades because, you know, your skin tone is different on different parts of your face for the most part if you're like me, and having a peachy shade just helps with color correction, and then the other shades I can pick and choose depending on the area of my face I'm trying to conceal. So there's a lot of versatility. I can also mix the shades, which makes this the most useful spot concealer that I own. Let's finally do my eye makeup. I could not choose only one eye product or eye palette, so I chose 4. Again, cut me some slack because they're all for good reason. Alright, starting with the Armani eye tint. These are so blendable, so smooth. They have like a cream to powder mousse-like texture. They give you so much blend time. I am a liquid eyeshadow connoisseur, and these, in my opinion, are the most user-friendly. Now, if you want longevity, I would instead switch to something like the Makeup by Mario or the About Face, especially if you want liquid eye paints that are rooted in artistry, or even Danessa Myricks has some liquid eye paints that are a little bit more flexible and versatile to use in multiple different ways. But if we're just talking about reliability every day, throw it on and leave the house, Armani eye tints. I bought more during their Black Friday sale because they were 30 to 40% off depending on the color. So the one I'm gonna wear today is in the shade 9S, which I believe is called Copper Tone. I will warn you though, I think for some people it will cause some creasing depending on how oily your eyelids are, but I have worn this underneath eyeshadow primer and it solved the problem. Another one and done eyeshadow that I loved so much this year is the Merit Solo Shadows. So I originally was using Mid-Century, which is the matte version. That's also a cream to powder formula. On a daily basis, I was just applying that all over my eyes, putting on some mascara and calling it a day. But recently they launched their Solo Sheens, which I have been really enjoying. This is in the shade shade Surrealism, and it has a very similar finish, like that sheer finish, to the Armani eye tint. So if you're not a fan of liquid eyeshadows, and if you find these too expensive, the solo shadows are just as great. The mattes are very long lasting, and I don't have creasing issues with the mattes. I will warn you that the solo sheens though, these are more of a mousse-like texture and they are creamier, but because of that, I do notice creasing. Now, that doesn't personally bother me because I love the wet look on the skin. You could always make it work with a primer underneath, set it with a similar eyeshadow, but the sheen of this is so pearlescent and beautiful. It gives you a wet looking eye. I think it's totally worth applying, especially if you want your makeup to look very natural on a daily basis. On top of that, it's also not very glittery. It literally applies like a highlight, and it gives you this ethereal effect without having glitter in it. Very office appropriate, very school appropriate, love it. But on the days I want to kick it up a notch, I'm going to use the Danessa Myricks Colorfix sticks. I'm just going to start off by saying that the downside of this product is that it's sold in a duo, and I usually only want to use one side, which is the foil side. So it's a pretty expensive product, but maybe in the future she'll launch just the foils because that's all I really want, and that's the most impressive part of it for me. I will also note that people complain that these are difficult to blend, but in my opinion, they aren't meant to be blendable. They're meant to be long lasting, have minimal pigment, and if you apply it correctly, well, that sounds mean. If you apply it accordingly with a certain technique, I don't think you will have issues or care that it's not blendable. And my favorite way to use these is as a topper shadow. I just pat it on the center of the lid and apply it upwards, scattered. The harder you press, the more shine and glitter you're going to get. The lighter you press, the less glitter you're gonna get. And you're just tapping this on the eyes. Your application method is going to be sort of the blending method. Now, as you can tell, I applied a little bit too much up there, so I'm just going to wipe it away and just even it out. But as you can tell, these apply themselves. Now, if you are expecting these to work like a typical cream shadow pencil, you're going to be severely disappointed because these are mostly made of water. It's a gel texture and it's very cooling on the eyes, and they aren't the same type of formula as a cream shadow stick. If you want this product, I would just go in with the expectation that this is going to be a unique experience and separate from your typical traditional cream shadow sticks. These have since replaced eyeshadow glitter toppers for me because they have less fallout, they're easier to apply, they last longer on the eyes, and they're just easier and more fun to work with, more reflective on the eyes. So dare I say this was one of my favorite launches of the entire year. Before I do the rest of my eyes, I went ahead and sprayed the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This is my favorite setting spray just to melt my makeup together, and then I use a fixing spray at the end of my makeup for longevity. But this has been like, I don't know, 4th, 5th bottle. I haven't been able to track. I will say once I finish this though, I want to try the One Size powder melt really badly, but let's use this up for the most part before we buy another one. Setting spray is something I will say I use up and usually finish, which is kind of impressive, not gonna lie. I always put mascara on last, so before we do the mascara, let's apply on my favorite powder of the year, Huda Beauty Easy Bake Fragrance Free in Banana Bread, okay? This stuff, it's just reliable. Like, I do have other powders I like. I love the One Size still. The Makeup by Mario powder is great as well, but if we're going off of most reliable, Huda Beauty, because it just blurs out the skin perfectly. It's a good shade. It's not too matte, not dewy. It doesn't have shimmer or glimmer. And this is the formula that still has talc in it. The way that I would describe this powder is just right, because you can sheer it out to have like a light layer of powder to set your makeup, but if you're someone who wants to bake with it, you can also bake with it as well. And it takes a lot to make this powder look cakey. So in my opinion, this is kind of foolproof. I just wish she came out with the fragrance-free version and all of her new shades because I would have bought it. Okay, I think it's safe to finally do some mascara, and you will not believe it. If you watched my video for a really long time, you know that the L'Oreal Butterfly Mascara is holy grail, all-time favorite, but I think it has since been replaced because this is an expired bottle. I didn't have a backup, so I had to use what I had, and in the meantime, I started using the L'Oreal Panaroma Mascara, and the more I used it, the more I realized I really love this. This is truly a voluminous mascara. Like, it makes my eyelashes look thicker, look longer, and it keeps a curl for the most part for as long as the L'Oreal Butterfly. My only concern is that the brush is kind of chunky, but I can look past that. I will always love my L'Oreal Butterfly, but I like this one too almost equally. So if you're looking for a like voluminous mascara, I recommend the Panorama waterproof version to hold a curl. And if you're looking for something that kind of makes your lashes look a little bit more fluttery, more separated with less clumping, then I would recommend the Butterfly. Again, waterproof. Now, if you are someone who doesn't use waterproof mascara because it is so hard to take off, listen, you have no excuses because you need this. This is going to solve all of your problems. It is the Heroine Make Speedy Mascara Remover. It comes in a little wand. You just kind of apply it on the eyes, let it sit, wipe it off with a cotton pad a few times, and you're good. You can cleanse the rest of your face to get any excess off. Just make sure when you apply it on one eye, you wipe it before dipping it back in for hygienic reasons. Unfortunately, these two mascaras are expired and I will not be putting them on my eyes. So instead, we're going to use my third favorite mascara, which is the Clio Kill Lash Superproof Mascara. This has a smaller wand and it definitely helps hold a curl. I would also consider this waterproof, but they don't say waterproof on here because it is really difficult to take off. On my lashes, I feel like this does a really good job at lengthening them, but it doesn't do as good of a job in terms of volumizing. As for lip balm, you know my favorite is the Idem Le Chouchou Lip Softening Balm. This is in the shade It has like a brown shade to it and it smells like hot chocolate. This by far is a sensorial experience for me. I love the smell, I love the gloss shine, I love the texture, it's not super sticky, and I love the metal tip applicator. It is just so soothing when I apply this on, especially in the winter time. It's a good hybrid between a lip balm and a lip gloss. I find that the gloss, even though it's not sticky, lasts pretty decently long throughout the day. Those were not words. What I mean by that is it lasts a few hours before you have to reapply, and I do notice my lips are softer throughout the day because of it. And it also pairs really well with a lip liner if you want to use it as a lip gloss. The best lip stain I tried this year, in my opinion, is the NYX Lip Lingerie. My favorite shade is in Lip Block, but I also love Steamy Spice as well. This is more of a neutral warm tone brown. I love this because it has longevity, but I also love the shades from NYX. I researched a lot of lip stains and they usually run really red for some reason, and I thought that was just the nature of a lip stain. But then NYX launched a wide range of lip stains with a variety of browns with different undertones, and that is why I would recommend NYX, because of the different tones, and it's $12 in comparison to $20. Now, I love the Huda Beauty one. I do think Huda Beauty lasts a lot longer than NYX, but the shade range isn't as comprehensive and it's simply just pricier. So why go with that one when you can go with a cheaper option that performs almost the same? Like, this one doesn't have the same longevity, but it's close. My only complaint is that I actually don't like the tip of this. I think if you have smaller lips, this might work for you better, but for me, I find it to be too tiny and too much of a hassle and almost extremely precise, that I like precision that I don't really need in comparison to the Huda Beauty applicator. I love the Huda Beauty applicator. It is so much more satisfying for me to use. I wish I could combine the shade range of the NYX with the longevity of the Huda Beauty and the applicator of the Huda Beauty. Boom. But if I had to choose, I'm going with the NYX because simply the color range is better. Of course, you know my favorite lip liner color and formula is the Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Foxy Brown. It's a little tiny stub. So that tells you that I love this thing. I haven't even repurchased it yet, and I still have a decent amount left. I love Foxy Brown because it's the perfect neutral brown on my lips. Not too dark, not too light, not too warm, and not too cool. I feel like Goldilocks right now. But the formula is great as well because it's creamy, but it sets. And once it sets, it doesn't really budge or move as much as traditional lip liners, and that's usually what I'm going for. But this was also the year that I bought some MAC lip liners for the nostalgia, but also the shade range. And I have to say, MAC definitely wins in terms of shade range. They have some of the best lip liner colors available. I love Cork, I love Night Moth, and I love the shade Chestnut. Those are my holy grail MAC lip liner colors, but I don't love them as much as the Charlotte Tilbury because they don't like set on the lips. You can give it longevity by adding powder after you apply on the lip liner, but they are very blendable lip liners. So if you put anything on top of that, it's just going to blend with whatever you apply it with. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes I don't want that to happen. So I like MAC for the shade range, but I prefer the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner formula more. In combination with the lip liners, I absolutely love and adore the Buxom lip cream, and I finally panned this. It's in the shade Mascara Mule. I scraped out whatever I had left to do a demonstration, but this is by far my favorite lip gloss formula because it's just the right amount of pigment. It's plumping without burning, but it does give you that minty peppermint sensation, which I really, really love. And it's very long lasting. Now, keep in mind this does have some sticky and tackiness on it, and that's what makes it long lasting. I prefer that. I know some people might not. So if you want a non-sticky gloss, go somewhere else, but if you don't mind that for the longevity, Buxom, they deserve more viral hype. They're an old brand, but they deserve more recognition, that's for sure. Now, my favorite lip color discovery by far this year has been the Ma Beauty matte lipstick in the shade M120. This was gifted to me, but I have just been searching for this oxblood red deep fall color in a formula that's not patchy, and I have to say this is by far the best like dark lip formula I've tried because I tried a color like this in the MAC lipsticks and I found it to be very patchy. I've also tried Refi, I've tried some liquid matte lip creams, but not all formulas are made for dark lips like this. The Mauve matte lipstick is so impressive because it's one swipe pigment. Boom, you have all of the color there, so it's not patchy on the lips. It's also matte without being drying. I have worn this for long periods of time and I don't find my lips get dried out like if you were to wear a traditional liquid lipstick. On top of that, it does have a slight, shine and sheen to keep your lips semi-hydrated, and the color is exactly what I've been looking for. So I know next year I'm gonna be wearing this again in the fall and the winter because it is one of my favorite lipstick shades. I don't want to say of all time yet. Give it a few more years, but it's one of my favorite discoveries this year. I also discovered a lot of new MAC lip combos. I made an entire video of my favorites that I'll link somewhere in the cards and in the description, but the one that I really, really loved is Chestnut by MAC paired with Truth Be Untold by MAC. I also really loved the lipstick shade Paramount by MAC. I know there's so many lip products that I cannot choose from. Like, I was constantly switching between lip combinations all year because this was my discovery year when it came to lipstick and lip combos and lip liners, and I think I finally understand what I like and a good lip combo. So unfortunately I couldn't choose one, but hopefully next year I'll be able to narrow it down a little bit more. But I also think it's totally okay to have multiple different favorites depending on your mood, because that's just the way that I do makeup personally. I'm having a hair crisis. I'm being really dramatic right now, but my hair is at a stage where it needs to be cut. I'm not ready to go to the hair salon and get it cut yet, and now it's just looking not the way that I want it to look, but we're going to ignore it and finish up the video. There are two more makeup favorites I wanted to highlight. The first is the Best Fixing Spray, which is what's going to help with longevity. One Size Until Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. I don't even think I have a lot left. I will say I feel, not that I know, I just feel like this breaks me out, so I don't wear it every day, only on special occasions. Moving forward, there are other setting sprays that provide longevity to my makeup without being as strong as this one, and I'm probably going to stick with those instead, or maybe try out other ones that aren't as hairspray smelling. But I will say, in comparison to what I've tried so far, this is the setting spray for longevity. Like, I will probably wear this at my wedding to make sure my makeup is locked in. Last product is the Dior highlighter palette. I'm not gonna put this on my skin today. I love this because it's just versatile. You're gonna notice that is a trend with all of my favorite makeup, is products that I can use in multiple different ways. This formula is very, very like strobing on your skin. It has that wet looking highlight shine without being too glittery. The glitters are very micro glitters, so they're not chunky glitters. You only notice it if you sheer it out. I love to use this as eyeshadow, but I also like to mix my own highlight depending on my makeup that day. So sometimes I'll mix the pearl with the brown for a lighter version of that color. I'll mix the pink and the white for a lighter version of that color, the pink and the brown for a darker version, the gold and the brown for a darker version, and sometimes I will swirl it all together and put it all over my body with a body brush. And I have gotten so many compliments this summer on this highlight palette. But those are this year's 2 choice words. I think for next year, I'm going to be using these products as like benchmark products to compare new products to, so that I can have an idea on if they live up to my holy grail products at the moment. I will say that these are more favorites than I really wanted to include in this video, and there are so many more products that I highly recommend. I think my philosophy on products has changed drastically over the years. I now believe that there's really no such thing as bad makeup. It's all just dependent on you, the user, your preferences. That's why I want to dive deeper into each category so that I can recommend best products for very specific preferences, versus you watching this video and seeing that I like a product and then buying it because I like the product, but you have completely different preferences than me. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more of my end of year roundups. Hopefully you're enjoying this little review-a-thon we have going on here. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!